yourself. It's an extremely important and powerful part of your brain, because when you make your identity, your brain will do whatever it has to do to live to that identity. It will make any situation conducive to the identity that you choose or somebody else chooses for you. Sadly, and too often, we let other people choose our identity. So, as an organization, and I think people ask all the time, what's the trust about? What's the Chiropractic Trust's purpose? Why should I join? Where does my $40 a month go to? And it's a legitimate question. So here is the identity of the trust. What is the ultimate purpose? First and foremost, to anybody practicing in the non-therapeutic model, it gives credibility to what you do. In the possible but unlikely event of legal issues or even a recognition of a movement, the first question is, what organization or group or school represents what you do? Now, there used to be schools, there used to be other organizations, but for whatever reason, their purpose became very unclear. And it seemed like the more the membership built up, the less clear the message was of their intent. So the first intent is very simple. A source of credibility for anybody practicing in a non-therapeutic model. The second point of the group, it is a resource for a learning and growth within the non-therapeutic model. Doesn't mean you have to practice in it. You can learn all about it. Then decide if you'd like to practice in this model. And third, it is a place where people in the non-therapeutic model can fellowship. Because if you're like me, yeah, you're 5'6" and named Mark, but also, I love that one, it never gets old, 20 years. When you meet a chiropractor, you work very hard to avoid talking about chiropractic. What's wrong with that picture? How many times have you met a chiropractor and 3 words out of their mouth, you already knew where they were coming from? Let's talk about the weather. Let's talk about your kids. Because then the conversation turns to the person justifying why they do what they do and how your life is so much easier that you can practice that way. I'd love to do what you do, Mark, but this, but I got a family, but I got a house, but I got kids. Well, man, until you get your butt out of the way, you can love anything you want. The question is, are you truly happy with what you do? And what is happiness? Simply put, happiness is when your internal blueprint matches your external environment. Then you become super happy. Does it always work that way? I mean, because we practice in a non-therapeutic model, does that mean that our lives are perfect? Absolutely not. But it means when we're in our office, it's as close to perfect as it can be. I've been through rough stuff in my life. Okay? I got a 16-year-old kid. I've been through divorces. I've been through a lot of stuff that I didn't like. But let me tell you something. The office was my place of peace during any troubled times. I've had injuries, I've been beat up, I've been ups and downs, I've been through some really rough times. But the office was that place that everything just came together, and it was this wonderful expression of love, and the happiness was derived because the external environment paralleled the internal blueprint. I don't ever justify what I do to anybody. I'll talk to anybody anytime about what I do because I just love what I do. It's not part of a career. Do you know that there are, I know this is going to sound crazy, there are people in chiropractic school who've never been to a chiropractor because it's a great career. And that's good that it's a great career, but it has to be more than a career. It has to be a passion. It has to be something that you are obsessed with. Because if you're not, you're going to be tested either way. And how you handle that test is going to determine a lot about who you are as a person, your happiness, and how you practice. Believe it or not, the most influential part of your practice, the most influential part of how you practice is the first 2 years after you get out of school. The first 2 years after you get out of school has more impact than any other time in your life in regards to how you will practice for the next 20, 40, 60 years. Crazy as that may sound. So, as a chiropractor, and this is just my observation, you can have any definition you want in your office. You can practice any way you want to. You can literally do anything at all you want. That's called freedom. And too much freedom is something called anarchy, you see. So freedom can be a good thing. We want to think that, oh, freedom is always a good thing. And I'm saying, no, it's not. And neither is total control. See, history tells us when the slaves were freed from Egypt, and Moses said, come on guys, we got freedom, it's time to go. And they were wandering and they left. Most of them didn't want to go. They wanted to stay right where they were. Yeah, they didn't have a lot of control, but man, they had 3 square meals a day, a roof over their head. They knew what was expected. They worked within their means, and it was really great. And they didn't want to leave that for freedom. So freedom isn't always a good thing. And freedom does not negate accountability. You can say anything you want in your office, but you have to be accountable. So what does that mean? That means that in the end, there is a consequence for every action. For every action, there is an equal reaction. So if I say something, if I do something, it doesn't mean, well, I'm a straight chiropractor. I don't have to do this. I don't have to do that. No, it's not saying that at all. It's saying that you have a purpose. You have an identity. You take the responsibility for everything you think, everything you say, everything you do, and everything that occurs within the walls of your office. That's all that's saying. And what's happened to our profession that we all love, we're here for one reason. We are here from all over the country today here, folks. We are here for our love and our passion of something extremely important to our lives that's called chiropractic. To an organization that's in its infantile stages that we're still not even sure, some of you maybe, what this organization is about, but you see enough potential that you had to at least check it out, and I thank you for it. So, define chiropractic any way you want to. Practice any way you want to. But if you see what I see, and because quite frankly, most of y'all do, and quite frankly, most of y'all would practice by yourselves, alone, on an island for the rest of your life, whether I was here, whether this organization was here or not. And that's what makes it so powerful. It makes it powerful because you see and you understand the power and the potential of chiropractic in its non-therapeutic realm. And you want to practice in that way. And you will do it, more than likely you'll do it like me till the day that you die. But imagine how much more powerful we can be together with the same identity. Then we create together synergism. Synergism is when the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. I'll give you an example. If I have a horse that pulls weight, and that horse can pull 600 pounds, and I attach a harness to another horse that can pull equally 600 pounds, mathematically, how much should those horses be able to pull? 1,200 pounds, logically. That's not the answer. The case is they pull between 35 and 5,500 pounds together. Together. That's called synergy. Can't explain it, but it happens. Kind of like life. So now, chiropractic's in an identity crisis. And this identity crisis permeates within our profession, and it permeates within how our profession is viewed by the public. We're always complaining, oh, we're only reaching 9% of the public, 10% of the public, it's been this, it's been that. Okay, the rush of something new is over. That rush that happened 118 years ago, that there was something new, we got to check this cat out, and he's rebellious, and the group's rebellious, and they're saying things, and some of them actually make sense. That rush is gone. And our identity is very unclear. So what do? We repress other professions the way other professions repressed us. We repressed physical therapists from getting licensed and becoming doctors of physical therapy, and money's actually spent on that nonsense, and massage therapists. But yet we want to use all these different trades and all these different professions, and we want to do all these things ourselves at the sake of losing what our true identity and purpose is. And people say, oh, you can just do this, and you can just do that, and it's going to help you, and it's going to help people. I want to help people. I want to help people. I think everybody here wants to help people, but let me tell you something. Compassion is very dangerous when it compromises honesty, when it compromises identity. And sometimes I got to tell you, there are things that happen in our profession that are embarrassing. I think I can say it in this group. It's just embarrassing, okay? You have to have a working definition of what you do in your office. That will provide your scope of practice, which is a wonderfully peaceful thing, because I don't want to do everything. I don't want to be responsible for everything. I want to do one thing, and I want to do it really good. And if my scope is everything, I have to be accountable for everything, which chiropractors don't like to do. So my scope is very specific, and it forms my identity as a chiropractor. So, what is my identity as a chiropractor? In the office that I practice in, and perhaps even in your office, we came up with a definition of chiropractic many years ago when we were in what used to be a straight group. It was called the FSCO. It doesn't exist anymore. And the young man in back, Jim Haley and Joe DiNaprio, and there were other wonderful people like Mark Osteen. And we came up with a definition. I say we.